Hello everyone, and welcome to the next edition of the Holland Land Office Museum's Artifact video series. My name is Ryan Duffy, and today we're going to talk about a woman who is closely connected to the woman who we did in our last video, Mary Richmond, and we're going to talk about her daughter, Adelaide Richmond Kenny, who followed in her mother's footsteps and made a significant impact on the growth and prosperity of Batavia. So we're going to go through the impact of Mrs. Adelaide Richmond Kenny and see how she continued on the Richmond tradition of supporting Batavia and using the family's wealth to the advantage of the entire community. Adelaide Richmond was born on June 7th, 1845 in Syracuse, New York, to Dean and Mary Richmond. She was the oldest daughter to be born into the Richmond family and was the only to survive into adulthood. She would move with the family, eventually making it here to Batavia in 1853, and she would enroll in Mrs. Bryan's Seminary, which was actually housed at the time in the Ellicott Mansion and the former Holland Land Office, another Richmond connection to the building. She would marry at the age of 24 in 1869 to a William J.C. Kenny, who was a doctor, businessman, politician, though he was a doctor, but he didn't seem to actually practice any medicine, and he was based out of Buffalo. However, their marriage would be very short-lived, as 4 years later, Mr. Kenny would pass away, and Adelaide would move back to Batavia to live with her mother in the mansion, and this was a little bit of time after her father's death. In order to be with her mother, help take care of her in some ways, but also to help provide for herself in many ways. Now, Adelaide, much like her mother, would be instrumental in supporting the growth of Batavia and was involved in many of the same enterprises as her mother and would continue that legacy. She was one of the founders and the first president of the Batavia Hospital, founded in 1902, which has evolved several times into United Memorial today. She also served on the Batavia Board of Education and continued to invest heavily in local Batavia businesses and industry. Adelaide had over $1 million in stock in the Johnson Harvester Company and continued on after her mother's death in 1895 as a prominent supporter of other businesses like the Wire Plow Company, Batavia Carriage Wheel, E. and Rowell Box Factory, and the New York and Bell Telephone Company. Adelaide would go on to be just as beloved as her mother and even her father. And when she passed away on February 4th, 1905, the whole community went into mourning. And when her funeral occurred on February 7th, all the businesses of Batavia shut down for the day, and especially any ones which she was closely affiliated out of respect, and even all the workers of Johnson Harvester Company lined the streets while the procession went by. So she was very beloved, and if you recall from the last video, when her mother Mary Richmond died 10 years previous, very similar reception came out from the community in terms of shutting down in honor of these women who made a significant and very important impact to the local community. So we have the first generation in Mary Richmond, but several generations after, including her daughter Adelaide Richmond Kenny, who continued that legacy and were very important to the growth of Batavia. Well, I hope you enjoyed this edition of our Artifact video series and learned a little bit more about Adelaide Richmond Kenny and her continuation of the importance of the Richmonds to the growth of Batavia up into the very beginning of the 20th century. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up or even subscribe to the channel, as it gives us a little bit more support, but also gets you notified even quicker when we do release new videos. And be sure to go back and check our entire catalog, as this Artifact video series is approaching 150 videos. So there's plenty of material to check out, as well as other videos from our guest speakers and concerts. So be sure to check out all of that. But as always, the best way to learn more about the local history is to stop by the museum for yourself and take a look at these artifacts and stories up close and personal, and we'll be happy to share even more information than what's in these short videos. And if you're looking to support us even more, the best way to do that is to become a member of the museum. as all that money goes to support ventures like the video series here, as well as all of the events that we put on for the community. And you can find all that information on our website, which is hollandlandoffice.com.